Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I'm on a different computer this time. Camera looks worse.
It's a tighter shot.
Last night, my name was on the screen, but nobody could see me, and I don't know why.
Technology, not always our friend.
Yeah. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi guys.
Caroline.
Hey, Caroline. Hey, Suzanne.
You know, I got a new computer and I felt like the lighting got worse when I did.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is too much light. Maybe I turn that off. I'm trying to like not be in the dark.
Right, I'm usually too dark on these.
I actually got a Zoom lesson a couple of days ago because I was running a webinar. And, you know, the big thing was to have lighting that comes at your face as opposed to lighting from behind. You get
It's hard with a big monitor though. For like the phones and for vlogging, you know, they have the round lights and different lights. But
the idea was to get a clip-on light and point it at the, you know, so that you get a reflection back on your face.
gotcha, okay.
I don't know.
Someday I'm going to build upper cabinets in here and then there'll be light underneath them.
Yeah. Our house is a fake historic house, so there are no overhead lights anywhere. Everything is like a lamp that's plugged into a corner.
What do you mean a fake historic light or a house?
It was built in 77, but it's a salt box, you know, with a center chimney and with rooms separated by wooden doors with metal latches. It's very fake. It was a very good attempt at, you know, recreating that Sturbridge Village look, I think, is what they're going for.
Hi, Geraldine.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
That was the other thing they talked about with the Zoom tutorial is to have books behind you. Make sure.
You look smart, right? Isn't that what
Yeah,
they say?
Geraldine looks smart. Looks like she reads all the time.
They're just for show.
Oh,
Pages are
probably all
blank.
gardening books, right?
Yeah, well, some of them are, yeah.
I do too.
They didn't work for me very well this year, but that drought did not help. That's for sure.
It did not. It did not.
I'm also not used to the early frost. It gets me every year. My basil gets wiped out every year. We're up a little higher and not so protected, so we kind of get it sooner than everybody else. How we doing?
Good.
Good.
Got a quorum anyway.
Yeah.
I know Ford's coming.
Let's see. Oh, we're a little early yet. I guess we've got time.
You got some time.
Hi there.
Hi, John.
Well, good evening, everyone. How are you this evening, folks?
Good. I see you're on the list of election workers next Tuesday, a week from Tuesday.
It's always nice to be a warden, you know.
Ed's going to be there too.
Oh, of course. Ed and Steve and myself. And
Yep.
we get to run the show. It's such a wonderful thing.
I know. It's so nice to have a boss there.
There we go. You bet. Well, let's see. Where are we here? Well, Caroline, it looks like we are ready to go whenever you choose to have things fired up. Sorry, I'm in the dark. The light's behind me this time. My wife is on another Zoom call in the other room.
Very popular these days.
Certainly is.
Caroline, will there be Mylars off Hanscom Woods, assuming it's approved?
She may not have heard you, but yes, they're supposed to be.
I got the way. It's just
Yeah,
downstairs.
sorry.
She's gonna let- oh.
No, we had issues last night with the stream, so I was just trying to get it going. So John, I'm recording and I am now feeding to Facebook. So I'll check the audio there. Yeah, we do have plans to record. Their paper plans, but I'll email you guys to come by. So if you approve that, you will have plans to sign tonight.
Yep,
Cute
I've got
puppy,
you live on
Sharon.
Facebook.
Her name is Edith.
She's so cute.
I do have you live on Facebook.
Is the audio working tonight?
I'm
I'll email you guys to come by. So if you approve that, you will have plans to sign tonight.
Yep,
Cute
I've got
puppy,
you.
Her name is Edith.
She's so cute.
I do have you live on Facebook.
Okay, I can hear it there.
I'm
Okay, I can hear it there.
Caroline, you're now live on all platforms.
Okay. So one. So we're waiting. Oh,
Gordy and Ford, are they?
Ford and Gordy.
I'll be signing off now.
Thank you.
So one. So we're waiting. Oh, Gordy and Ford. Ford and.
I lost it.
Yeah. Caroline, you want to give them a call?
Oh, there's Ford. So
He's there.
Oh,
short
let's see
Gordy
here.
at the moment.
Yeah. Keep going.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Ford. All right, I'll call Gordy.
I apologize. I thought I had looked at it. Are there files in the Dropbox folder?
There are, but did you get a packet?
A hard copy?
Yes.
No, I'm doing electronic.
Yes, so everything should have been in the Dropbox then.
When I click on it, it's empty.
So the way Todd, the way I get them to Dropbox, an email comes from Caroline,
Yep.
and I open that, and then I have to click to transfer them from her email to my Dropbox.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. Thank you.
Then
Oh, there
all-
we go. Got
we
it.
also had a couple emails
Got it.
today from Caroline with some documents.
There we go. Okay, thank you.
It looks like Gordy's here too.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. So we ready to get started then, Caroline?
Yes. You're just gonna, looks like you're just waiting for one of the applicants, but we can go get started on
Yeah,
the
we,
other items.
yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay,
So I'd like to call to order the Project Review Board meeting for October 21st, 2020. Thank you, everyone. We've full board attendance tonight. Again, because it's a virtual meeting, we do need to read the motion in its entirety as written and/or changes that we make to it and do a roll call vote. And then, Guy, will you be recusing yourself again from the?
Yes, that's correct, from the Historical Society.
Yeah, remind me when we get to that
Yep.
point. So the the first item on the agenda is the information exchange. Caroline?
sure. So I have a few things. First up is just giving you an update on what the planning board's been up to. They continue to be fairly busy. I think we talked about before how they've had 2 recent requests for amendments in the downtown Village Commercial 1 district. Last night, the council did approve the planning board recommendation to allow existing single-family dwellings in the VC1 to become conforming uses. Again, it wouldn't be permitting new dwellings, but making existing dwellings becoming conforming does enable our residents to stay where they are and add on, should they want to seek approvals to do that. Everything else, such as design review, space and bulk standards, all remains unchanged. The second item the planning board has been talking about has been a wording change in the Village Commercial 1 to change the word masonry and non-masonry to combustible and non-combustible. And that's been in regards to building setbacks. And we'll talk about that a little bit later tonight. The other thing that they've been continuing to talk about, we'll have a hearing on it next month, was a new overlay district out at the desert of Maine. They've talked about that a few times. They're about ready to go to public hearing with that language. And then last month, they had an initial discussion with a developer who's bringing forward a zoning amendment for a zoning change out in the area of Old County Road, Desert Road, kind of where the Industrial 2 district meets the rural residential on Old County. But where the golf course is, there's somebody looking possibly at a zone change to permit some high density residential housing out there. So that's what the planning board's been up to. We don't have any staff approval to report. The other 2 things under info exchange is, first off, the November meeting is scheduled to be on Veterans Day. Obviously, municipal offices are closed and it is a recognized holiday. Our tentative schedule did bump the meeting back to November 18th. Would put our submissions due by Wednesday, October 28th at noon. Does anyone have any conflicts with that meeting date at this point? If you do, just send me an email and let me know if you have a conflict with that.
That was the
and then-
18th, Caroline?
Yeah, Wednesday the 18th, 6 o'clock. And then the other thing is we do have a couple board members who are going to be terming out. So if you haven't already, let me know at the end of March when your term expires, if you feel like you're going to move on to other things, let me know. I do believe that we will have a few vacancies. So if you are listening tonight and you're interested in serving on the project review board, the planning board, or any other municipal board or committee, please feel free to reach out or visit our website and get an application. We're always looking for new members, or if you knew somebody that you think would be a great asset to have on one of our boards, please reach out to them, because we're always looking for new members as our current members term out and wish to move on to new things. And that's all I have under info exchange tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next item is are the minutes. So we have 2 sets of minutes. The first set is July 15th, 2020. Anybody have any comments, corrections for that set of documents? Minutes? If not, if somebody can make a motion to accept the minutes.
I move to the July 15th, 2020 minutes as printed.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, great. Roll call vote. Blanchard,
Yay.
Campanelli, yay. Hamlin,
Yay.
Brackey,
Yay.
Freutel,
Yay.
Watson, Suzanne?
Terry's being good. Yay.
Okay. And Yankee?
Yay.
Okay, thank you. The next set of minutes is for September 16th, 2020. I did have one correction on page 36. It should be she instead of he, but it's not that big of a deal. So, just for the record. So do anybody have any other, comments or corrections? If not, can I get, a motion to approve, except Gordy, you are, excused from these minutes, so.
Correct. I was not present.
I move that we accept the September 16th, 2020 minutes as printed and issued.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, Blanchard,
Yay.
Campanelli, yay, Hamlin, Reiki,
Yay.
Troidel,
Yay.
Watson,
Yay.
and Yankee.
Yay.
Thank you. So our first project for review is Hanscom Woods subdivision. Caroline?
So this is a open space residential subdivision. It's located off Pownell Road. We have reviewed it a few times now. It's major, so they came in for conceptual. The board did a site walk. You then took conceptual action. You reviewed the preliminary plans, and now they're back for final. The plans overall have not changed that much. They do have private residential driveways coming off Pownell Road. That is a state road. They did include in their submission copies of the driveway entrance permits that they did get from the state of Maine. They have approximately 10.86 acres, which they are proposing to give to the town of Freeport. The land abuts the existing Hedgehog Mountain property. There's an updated memo in your packet this time from Peter Joseph, town manager, giving a summary on the discussions the applicant had with the council. The town wants to do some due diligence, but assuming that all works out well, they are willing to accept the land. In this case, it makes sense that a developer, not just for this subdivision, but any subdivision, wouldn't give their land before the approval, because if for some reason they didn't get approved, they probably would need their land for other purposes. So there's a condition of approval that if the board takes action tonight, that land transfer being completed is a condition of the approval. If for some reason it didn't go forward, they would need to come back. The applicant did submit a draft deed with the requirements of the ordinance for the restrictions on the open space. We did look that over and sent it to the town attorney. She's doing her final review. They have a couple extra steps where they're proposing to transfer the land to the town. And then completing that review has also been added as a condition of approval. Adam Bliss, our town engineer, did review the stormwater plans. His recommendation was for some rain gardens and drip edges. Those are things that the details on how they'll be constructed was shown on the plans, but the exact location can't be pinpointed until the houses are in place, because that's where they're going to need the treatment. Otherwise, each lot will be served by well and septic. They did get their sign off from historic preservation, and there's really hasn't been any outstanding conditions mentioned or highlighted with this subdivision. Standards of condition of approval are pretty standard. Maintenance agreement, they'll have to do the pins and the couple other transfers before they swap the land. And again, this is a subdivision, so if it was to be approved tonight, you would have some plans that you'd have to come by the town office and sign, and I would send you an email to coordinate that. And that's all I have for you, and the applicant is present.
Okay, great, thank you. Warren, would you like to add anything?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
No, I think Caroline covered it. There's a little bit of work left to be done, obviously, and really appreciate everybody's time reviewing this.
Okay, thank you. Do any board members have any questions? Anybody? We've kind of looked at this quite a bit and did our site walk and had our public hearing last month. So there are no questions for Warren. I think then we could probably get a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
This is Ford Reiki. My proposed motion reads as follows. Be it ordered that the Freeport Project Review Board approve the findings of fact and subdivision plan for Warren Giroux for Hanscom Woods subdivision, tax assessor map 22, lot 63 for a 6-lot subdivision, open space subdivision on Pownell Road subdivision recording plan dated 9/28/20 to be built substantially as proposed, finding that it meets the standards for Freeport subdivision ordinance with the following conditions of approval. 1, this approval incorporates by reference all supporting plans that amend the previously approved plans submitted by the applicant, his or her representatives to the project review board meetings and hearings on the subject application to the extent that they are not in conflict with the other stated conditions. 2, prior to any site work, including but not limited to clearing of the site, the applicant established an engineering review and inspection account in the amount of $1,500 for inspection of site improvements by the town engineer. 3, the final signed Mylar for the recording plan should be recorded in Cumberland County Registry of Deeds within 90 days of the date upon which this plan is signed. Otherwise, the plan should become null and void. 4, prior to the sale of any lot, the applicant should provide the town planner with a letter from the registered land surveyor stating that all monumentation shown on the plan has been installed. 5, the draft deed be reviewed and revised for the satisfaction of town attorney with a copy of the final draft to be sent to the Freeport Planning Department. 6, prior to the sale of any lots or any site work, the applicant complete the transfer of the open space parcel to the town of Freeport. If for some reason this transaction does not go forward, the applicant would need to return to Project Review Board to amend the subdivision plan. Finally, 7, prior to the sale of any lots or site work, enter into a maintenance agreement for stormwater management system with the town of Freeport to be recorded in the Cumberland County Registry of Deeds. End of my motion.
thank you. Can I have a second?
I'll second. Suzanne.
Suzanne, okay, great. Roll call vote. Blanchard,
Yay.
Campanelli, yay. Hamlin,
Yay.
Reiki,
Yay.
Freutel,
Yay.
Watson,
Yay.
and Yankee.
Yay.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Warren. Good luck.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, the next project is the Freeport Historical Society site alterations.
I will be recusing myself from this application. I did work on an early iteration of this project.
Okay, see you in a bit. Thanks. Caroline, do you want to?
Yes, so I will give you an introduction, but I am going to share something with you. I'm going to share, can everyone see this little photo drawing or this little sketch on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think a version of this was included on sheet P3 of your plan set, but it gives you, this is a little bit bigger and kind of gives you a nice perspective of the application before you. So the applicant was before you guys last month seeking approval of a phase plan. A lot of things came up at the meeting and a lot of questions were raised that couldn't be answered that night. So they have since gone, revised their plan, cleaned up their drawings, added some details, and kind of fine-tuned what's before you. So they're back seeking approval for essentially the entire project. So we'll kind of walk through it, you know, each by building a little bit. So first we have what will forever be known as Frosties. They are proposing to relocate Frosties so that they can make some ADA improvements on their site. So they are proposing to not only elevate the building and put a foundation underneath it because there's drainage issues there, but also move it over a few feet closer to Banana Republic. They are going to make some site changes to have a brick walkway / ramp coming from the parking lot, and kind of as part of that are improving access to the Frosties building as well. On the south facade, you see that they are proposing a new covered entrance. The doors and windows are there, but they're going to have the new roof overhang, the little pitched roof, and the posts on that side. Interestingly enough, Jim pointed out to me that building is sided in a combination of clapboards and shingles, neither of which they are proposing to replace. They will be replacing some existing doors facing Main Street due to rot. They will be wood interior and aluminum on the outside. They're not changing dimensions. They're not making changes to any trim. So looking at the perspective that you have in front of you, you can get a good view of the garden shed, which they are proposing to relocate to the end of the Frosties building. As talked about at the last meeting, that is still utilized by their active garden club. Moving over to the L of the Harrington House, they are proposing some changes, as was described in the staff report in the drawing, to the windows and doors to provide better access into that site. You can see that there's a existing porch that's going to tie into a new ramp system. The new ramp system will start at the back of the parking lot, go behind the new vault, and then turn and connect you to that existing porch, which will thereby provide the AD access to the existing Harrington House building via the L. There will be some changes due to code in the railing height. The new railing will have to be 42 inches. But they give you the details on that in the submission. They're proposing to keep the details on the L. And then finally, you have the new vault structure. We talked about at the last meeting how they have come forward with a structure that, similar to Frosty's, does have limited openings, and that's due to the nature and use of the building. At the start of the meeting, I mentioned, what the planning board's been up to, and we talked about how they are looking at a change regarding masonry and combustible and non-combustible and non-masonry, and flipping those terms. Today, if the applicant wants to build that building, they could have a building as proposed, sided in the composite siding, the hardy board, I believe, but the walls behind the actual construction would have to be masonry. That was not what the applicant wanted. They want to have a steel structure. So they are trying to get that language changed. At the end of the day, as far as your review, it's not going to impact the exterior appearance of the building. It's still going to be the same. It's just going to be behind the walls, but still something to note. The applicant will submit a building permit for whatever permit is permitted at the time they go forward. But again, it's not going to impact the exterior appearance. Another big component of this project is the site improvements. Because they're moving over Frosties and having to elevate it and provide ADA access to these buildings, they are going to be doing some site alterations. They do have a new kind of curved brick, I call it ramp / walkway, coming in from the rear parking lot. That is going to provide ADA access and connect, kind of, as you can see in this rendering, to the middle of their site. It is going to cause some disruption to the beloved green space and gardens that they have in the center there. The applicant is aware of that. They are also aware of the importance of getting the landscaping right. We love to see everything come in as a whole package, and the applicant is aware of that. But in this case, they don't have the landscaping plan. They are proposing to come back with you once they can work with their garden committee with a whole landscaping plan for the site. I do think if that's something the board's willing to do, we would want to make that conditional that they return to you for approval, maybe before a certificate of occupancy be issued for any of those buildings. They do have some drainage and grading. They're going to tie into existing stormwater facilities. Adam did go to the site and he did review the drainage and stormwater plans, and he didn't have any issues with anything. Otherwise, I will leave it to the applicant, but that should give you a good snapshot as to where they're at in the process.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. Hello, Jim. Are you going to be? Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
Good evening. Right, Carolyn, as always, did a terrific job explaining really most of the details. And I think if you've had a chance to look at the plans, you'll see really have significant amount of work by multiple engineering firms and the architects. We've spent several years trying to come up with a plan which will give us the safe housing for our records and the town's records. And something that we can afford and something that fits on the site and something that doesn't disrupt the historic nature and setting that we have been trying to protect here for the last 40 some years. And we think this is our best shot at getting that done. Really would be very little visual impact from anywhere except possibly if you're going from Starbucks back to the back parking lot, you'll notice there's a second structure of exactly the same, it's the same size almost exactly as the existing Frosty's barn, and it'll be all in a fireproof, red cement-based clapboard over either a masonry or a steel building. Well, hopefully it's steel. So I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. We hope we've resolved some of those, that the site plans and illustrations that we've provided give you a much better idea of how this traffic will flow both through the garden as well as into the house itself. The main entrance will now be off the porch. Those steps have always been easier to navigate for anyone that has trouble climbing. And now we'll have wheelchair access from actually a much safer location in the back of the building where there are already some handicap spots in that corner of that large parking lot, and certainly more could be designated as handicap spots right at our entrance, which is far superior than trying to get out of a car on Main Street. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and Eric, our president, is here as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions? Go ahead, anybody. If you have-
Jim, is this plan hopefully not, are you hoping that this will not be a phased construction?
Yeah, we are planning to do everything now. The only thing we might phase is the amount of compact library shelving we can afford at the end of the project, right? And also there's a unending list of minor repairs to the old building, as there are in any old buildings. But we included in this project, we're extending the fire sprinkler, which is already in the main part of the building, but we'll be doing the L, most likely the basement, and we're working with the fire marshal as to the best way for the non-combustible vault itself. So we're adding a lot of features that, but it's all in one phase.
You have ADA access along the side of the vault into all structures, is that right?
It will not the barn. If you want to get into the barn, you have to go.
I got it.
South, yeah, right.
So the sweeping out in the garden area, the sweeping walkway, does that have to be a particular grade for ADA, or do you not have an ADA issue out there because you've resolved it at the vault?
No, that does have to be, to get access, to bring a stroller through our property front to back, which is where we have a tremendous amount of traffic. This will be an ADA ramp. The existing ramp, if you've ever tried it in the winter, is not. So this will be the first time we will have had, a safe ramp from front to back.
And my last question was on the landscaping. I think it would be nice to have, I can appreciate that you, with all the work you've done since the last meeting, you don't have a detailed landscaping plan, but it would be nice to have it well before you get to needing a certificate of occupancy. Right. When do you think you can get that in?
It's a little bit tongue in cheek, but I hope you can appreciate that we have a very active 12-person landscape committee. And they all have very strong opinions and decades of experience, hundreds of years of experience landscaping.
I bet
So
they're
it's
watching, right?
Yeah, it's not an open and shut case as to just how this ought to be done. And I've learned to say it looks great. So we'll see how much time you all want to put.
We might be
yes,
helping you. We might be helping you to put a very short fuse on this condition.
Yeah. Right. So we will, there are just some sloped areas that will probably want some, ground cover like pack of sand, or, some dense ground cover as where the ramps come together. There's a few areas like that. And then other spots, we're going to have to really stake out to see how much in that curve, which gets closer to the Banana Republic. We've already done a lot of thinning in that area right now, but.
Well, just to try to to try to pin you down. I mean, when you're going to be asking for a certificate of occupancy in a year?
No, it's going to be April or May is my great hope. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
So could we say no later than April for a landscape plan if that's a condition we put in?
April is great. Let's do April.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Any other board members?
I can go next. Jim, yeah, so I mean, the submission this time was definitely a little easier to understand, and I've been by there, just in the past month. So I guess the only thing I'm struggling with, so as sort of, a campus improvement, if you will, I think it looks like a very good plan, and I certainly understand your goals. I think the only place sort of with the ordinance that I'm struggling is being a Class A property overall. Even in the narrative, I guess the historical and or neighborhood significance, you don't go into that too much. So, and especially being the historical society, kind of breaking buildings apart and moving stuff around. And I just maybe talk a little bit to the evaluation of that, of your options. And obviously the Harrington House is more the primary structure, but since everything is connected and has been for a long time, it doesn't seem like anybody knows exactly how long, but certainly decades.
Eric, did you want to speak to that?
I can speak to that. I think, as Jim alluded, the Historical Society has been in conversation about how best to both protect the Harrington House property, which is in and of itself a part of our collection, but also how to best utilize the building and the property as the headquarters of our operations on behalf of the town and the community. And so we are working to balance both of those things. So balancing protecting the historic property as well as improving it so that it is actually accessible to the public. So one of the things that I think there's been a lot of conversation around, and this board has certainly had the conversation around protecting the feeling of the courtyard within the property. And that gets down to even the level of angle at which the buildings are attached to one another. So there is the barn with the shed that is connected right now to the L that forms that jagged corner. And we believe that this protects that feeling, even though there is that opening between the buildings, only the width of the ramp. I think that the experience of being in the courtyard will still be very much one of being entirely surrounded by buildings. It is, one of the things that we talked about is the fact that because of that additional, essentially barn-like structure that is being built to house our archives, you will not, from the courtyard, have any visual perspective where you see through or in between the buildings. The only point at which you would be able to look through the buildings is if you are standing on the porch, looking down the ramp. Everything else will still have that feeling of being inside the courtyard. And even from the parking lot looking up the ramp, what you will see is the wall of Harrington House. So you'll have a view onto the porch, but you won't really have a view into the courtyard. So it is still that closed perspective. In speaking of, we call it the barn, we've called it the carriage house, we've called it Frosty's. That building, as we've discussed, is pretty much down in a hole at this point. And really, we feel that the best way to protect that structure is to elevate it and bring it up to grade. That is both an issue of protecting the structure and making it accessible, where we're trying to balance both of those concerns for the property and for the organization. That barn, as you can see in some of the photos from the 70s and 80s, has had a significant amount of work done to it over the last couple of decades. Jim included the photo of the southern shed, which was taken off in the early 80s. We think that the addition of the covered entrance on that end is sort of reminiscent of that southern shed, although obviously not a replica of it. The barn doors have clearly been changed. So there has been significant updates to that building. It is, as you say, not the most historically important building compared to the Harrington House itself, but we still feel that it is a valuable structure, and that by lifting it and moving it slightly, it's both best for the organizational use of it in terms of getting the functionality out of the building, but also preserving the historic structure.
Can I ask a question, please? What will be the proposed use for the barn once it's relocated?
Right now, the proposed use is to return it to a rental income generating portion of the property. We do not know, we do not have a prospective tenant there. It is, likely to be perhaps more of a food service operation rather than a retail operation. As you know, we've had both. We've had a variety of different retailers in that space over the last several years, and then most recently we've had the food service operation with Frosty's. Longer term, there is certainly interest on behalf of the organization as possibly using that for program or display space. But in the short term, it's extremely valuable to the organization as a rental space.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for the explanation. I think that really, covers how this project meets the ordinance. We don't have a historic preservation ordinance, so it's not, mandated of exactly what you have to do with the property. So I think that, really helps me kind of understand and frame it.
Okay, are there any other questions from the board? Are there any, Caroline, are there any members of the public?
Yeah, so first off, I just want to make sure that everybody saw that I did forward in public comment we got today from Ellen Tracy regarding the project. You should have received that via email. Yeah, we do have a handful of members of the public present tonight. If you would like to speak, you can use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, and we will invite you over to speak. We'll give everyone a minute to see if anybody wants to comment on this item.
While we're doing that, I want to ask a question. The brick, so the semicircular type brick walk is going to be your ramp into the, you're considering that a accessibility ramp as well?
Yes. Yeah, well, that's how you get from the parking lot, the level of the rear parking lot up to the level of Main Street, right?
And also around back into the barn.
Correct, right.
Geraldine, you do have a hand up. Lonnie would like to speak. Can we bring him over?
Sure.
Hi, Lonnie, you can unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure whether my picture was going to come up or not. I just want to briefly say that I certainly encourage the Project Review Board to give us approval on this. As a member of the Board of Trustees, we have been working on this project for, I think, at least 5 years. It sort of all began at an annual meeting 5 years ago. I happened to be treasurer of the Historical Society at that time, and I presented a treasurer's report, and as most nonprofit organizations do, encouraged members to encourage their friends to join and provide more income and so on. And after I got done giving my report, George Denny got up and made his well-publicized gift to the Historical Society that started this whole project. As a board, we have discussed many, many options over that intervening time. Some of us have gotten very tired of those discussions, but I think we have come to a project that serves the needs of the society and serves the needs of the community. So I hope you will approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other members or any members of the public that would like to speak?
Sorry, can I bring over Janice?
Sure.
Okay, Janice, you can unmute.
Thank you. I just wish to speak, first of all, to Lonnie's comments about the years that we've put into this. But secondly, I think we've come up with a plan which satisfies the town in terms of the way it looks and the way it is accessible. We have so many of the town's valuable artifacts and our whole history of the 4 centuries that Freeport is. And I think it's vital that we proceed. We've looked at other places to store everything. That was part of the long range plan. And it comes back to let's put it right where it belongs, where everyone entering Freeport will see it and want to stop. And we're looking forward to enlarging any and all of our offerings and having wonderful new exhibits in the space. And I urge you to accept the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Caroline, any other hands up?
Yep, you do have one member of the public, Sarah Walsh. All right, Sarah, you're brought over. You can speak if you want to unmute your mic.
I think I did. Can everybody
Yep.
hear me?
We
Okay,
can hear you.
just a quick thing. Hi, everybody. When I came back to town and got involved with the accessibility task force, when we were looking at the town main street, we were stunned by the number of people who said, I can't even get into the Historical Society. And it was constant. So it was I sort of became annoying and went up to Jim and the board and saying, this is the one building in town that a whole population wants to get into and they cannot. And it's their stories that are in those buildings. So I think what you're going to find is this is going to be a meeting place. It's going to be a incredible town center attraction. So I would please request that we pass the whole thing and get it built.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Any other members of the public?
I don't see any other hands up. If anyone else, we had a couple other people. If anyone else wants to speak, they can raise their hand. We do not have any takers, Geraldine.
How about any other comments or questions from the board? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Gordy, sorry.
That we accept the proposal as, shall I read the,
Yes, we have to, since we're virtual, we have to read the whole motion. Let me ask Caroline. Caroline, do we need to put in? We talked about having the landscaping plan in. Let's see.
Yeah, you would want to, based upon what Ford said, if the board's in agreement, you would want to modify 3D so that the last sentence is prior or before. Or
End of
say
April.
probably April 2021. That way it will give flexibility in case meeting dates change.
Should we say March? Since three of the members that have been on this project, have seen this project, will be leaving after that. I mean,
oh, actually, that's a really good point. My first reaction was I'm fearful that, we're still in a pandemic and stuff gets delayed, but we are going to have 3 members that are done their terms at the end of March, and there's going to be nothing worse for you guys than trying to get back and having a quorum that can review your project. So,
I agree.
Geraldine, that's
yeah,
really good.
You can make us the heavies in this and say the deadline is March.
It's March.
The garden committee needs a project for the winter, and
There you go. I think March would be good. So how should we word that, Caroline?
So I think you could change 3D to be the applicant is aware that they will need to return to the board with a revised landscaping plan by March 2000, or okay, sorry. Return to the board with a revised landscaping plan by March 2021.
Wow, okay. Okay, so I'm sorry, Gordy, would you like to read the motion?
be it ordered that the Freeport Project Review Board approve the printed findings of fact, design review certificate, and the site plan amendment for the Freeport Historical Society for a new vault, ADA improvements, relocation of the carriage house, shed, and outhouse relocation, and associated pedestrian site and drainage improvements at 45 Main Street. Tax Assessor Map 11, lots 26, 26A, and 29 to be substantially as proposed. Application dated 9/30/20, finding that it meets the standards of Freeport Design Review Ordinance and the Freeport Zoning Ordinance with the following conditions of approval. This approval incorporates by reference all supporting plans that amend the previously approved plans submitted by the applicant and her representatives at project review board meetings and hearings on the subject application to the extent that they are not in conflict with other stated conditions. Prior to the start of any construction, the applicant obtain any applicable permits from the Freeport Codes Enforcement Officer. Prior to any site work, including but not limited to clearing of the site, and prior to the issuance of any building permits, the applicant do the following. A, establish a performance guarantee in the amount to cover the cost of all site work associated with the project. And I'm not sure what this is.
I think there's an extra word in there.
Okay. To be reviewed and approved by the town engineer in a form acceptable to the town attorney. The performance guarantee shall cover the cost of all site work, including but not limited to stormwater management, erosion control, drainage, landscaping and walkways, etc., along with the performance guarantee, a non-refundable administrative fee at the rate established by the Freeport be paid. Establish an inspection account in the amount to be determined by the town engineer to cover the cost of site or inspection of the site improvements by the town engineer. Developer have a pre-construction meeting with the town engineer. The applicant is aware that they will need to return to the board with a revised landscaping plan no later than March 2021. This has been added as a suggested condition of approval prior to the certificate of occupancy being issued by the carriage house and or vault. The final parking requirement for the new vault will need to be determined at such time that a building permit is issued.
Second.
Okay, great, thank you. Roll call vote.
Carolyn, can I pause you before?
Sure.
That didn't incorporate the wording change that you talked about prior to?
Yeah, he said prior to
March.
March 2021.
Okay, and then I realized if you guys want to have that condition right now, you're saying they have to do that before any site work, but I don't think that was your intent. So I think you might want to pull D to be number 4. Because you weren't trying to make them to do that before they do anything, correct? Just as long as they come back before March.
Correct.
Okay, sorry for that.
That's okay. Good clarification.
So we have the right wording before I take the Caroline.
Sharon, did you have that? So they're gonna have 3 A, B, C. E will become the new D, and then number 4 will be the applicants aware that they need to return to the board with a revised landscaping plan by March 2021.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay, great. So Ford seconded, and I will do roll call vote. Campanelli, yay. Hamlin,
Yay.
Ricky,
Yay.
Troidel,
Yay.
Watson,
Yay.
and Yankee.
Yay.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for the changes, and good luck.
Well, thank you very much. You'll all hear more about this, I'm sure, but thank you. We want us all to be proud of this when we're done.
Yeah,
So,
congratulations. Nice job.
great. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Bye.
How's plan?
Okay, the next project for review is the Creighton Residence, 74 Bow Street.
Sure. So, sorry, my screen just all rearranged. Bill Creighton is here as the applicant. The applicant has an existing dwelling at 74 Bow Street. He currently has a 2-family dwelling, and a past approval allowed that 2-family dwelling with an office. He now is back before you to convert that office space into a 3rd residential dwelling. It's been long enough so he's not triggering subdivision, but he does have to come before you per the applicable sections of the ordinance for site plan review to change the use of the structure to multifamily. He is not actually proposing any changes of the face of the earth, as his previous parking plan designates adequate parking. He previously brought forward landscaping, buffer, driveway, parking areas, all that. There was 2 plan sheets in your submission. One was the previously approved site plan, and the second was a survey for the property. The structure is in everyone's favorite zones. It's in design review 2. It's in the Freeport Village Overlay District. And then it's also in Village 1. Because he is in the Freeport Village Overlay District and going to multifamily, there is a requirement in there about a front door. There is, or a door facing the road, I believe it says. There is a door on the front with an existing porch with an overhang. The roof overhang is causing water damage, so the applicant's proposing to remove it. Behind that door, closest to the road, is actually a bathroom. And so he has a door that would lead to a bathroom, which is not desirable. So he is proposing to remove the door. The main entrance to the structure is actually on the side. You have some pictures of what it looks like from the end of the driveway. He would like to maintain that as the main entrance on the building and actually move that roof, have the option to move that roof hanging over to that side of the structure. Again, he would need design review for that. And to be able to do that, the board would need to find that it meets that standard of the overlay district. Ironically, the way we know there's some confusion with the standards in the overlay district. He could have come to you today with his existing 2-family and asked to remove that, and the door, location of that door wouldn't come into play. But because he's adding that unit, it is something the board needs to look at. And then again, it's design review. So you need to find whether or not it meets the standards of the design review ordinance. Today, he was able to obtain his capacity letter from the sewer district. So that was forwarded to you. It was previously listed here as a proposed condition of approval, but it has been met. So that proposed condition of approval could be struck. So if the board takes action, all the applicant would need to do to kind of wrap up his project would be to get any applicable permits from the code officer. That's all I have for you. And just to note, we do still have a couple members of the public here tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you. Bill, would you like to say anything? Is he here? Yeah.
No, I mean, Caroline does a fabulous job of painting the picture. So
She does. It's a great job.
well, I'm happy to respond to any questions, but I
Okay.
think she painted the picture handsomely.
Thank you. Any board members, questions, comments?
Caroline, can you take me to the exact ordinance section that requires the front door facing the street? I've been through,
Yeah.
maybe looking right at it. I'm looking at section 8 and I couldn't find the exact wording.
So you want the section reference or the wording?
The section reference, I'd like to read it.
Okay, let me pull that up for you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I should have put a reference in the staff report other than the wording. So you'll go to the addendum, Freeport Village Overlay District. Again, there's some inconsistencies, but we go to on page 3, new multiple family dwelling units. So then you go down to section 3, and it would be on page, it starts on page 10, windows and doors. And
Of
then
design review? Is this of design review or in this,
Nope.
in these?
This
Oh,
is in the Freeport Village Overlay District and those design standards.
Got it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Page 11 here, I can, here, hold on, here you go. If you look at the screen, it's highlighted in blue on your computer. I just screen shared it with you.
I haven't, thank you. So if this is required, how do we even have latitude to, and I'm also, when you look at the design review ordinances, similar language, how do we have authority to waive that?
I think you would have to, only way I think you could approve him removing the door, well, A, if you find it consistent with design review, but if you feel like that other entry, that other door meets that standard of being a recognizable front door facing the street. He had some pictures of that entry where he's proposing to move that. Otherwise, if you feel like it doesn't meet, his option would be to leave the door, in which case I'm assuming Bill could weigh in. He would probably still want to remove that overhang because it's causing water issues. And I'm not sure, he might want to remove the porch too because it's not utilized. but
And
built
the door that is being proposed as the alternative is the blue door with 9 lights that's part of a fire escape?
Bill, can you clarify that for the door?
I'm not, I guess I'm not entirely sure what the question is.
Clarify where the entrance is that you want to retain to the building so they can better understand if it meets that, can meet that.
Well, I mean, I
standard.
sent the photograph of what is the side entrance that's clearly visible from the street. If you're approaching, if you're headed outbound on Bow Street, what's clear is that the primary entrance to the door is that, yes. And there's on the left, I mean, that's the entry door. What you see there, the blue door, is the entry door into the rear unit, and the entry door into the downstairs apartment is to the left of that. And the upstairs apartment is up at the top deck. So there's an entry door there. But looking at it from Bow Street, it's pretty clear that that's the main entry for the house. Those other pictures are all showing around back.
And just to be clear, this image is the one that's the final proposed condition, right? This has been altered.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've moved the porch from here to here.
Right.
And gotten rid of the door. Okay.
Well, and I think the further issue with, especially with the village overlay district, is it's maybe not requiring, but I mean, it fully sets out to make provisions for people to have porches, add porches, build porches new, and we're talking about removing a porch and a door to kind of just end up with a box.
So this photograph that we currently see now would show that the proposed primary entry. And it is visible from the street.
There you go. Sorry about that. Trying to pull it up for you.
Right. So that's what it would look like if what I am proposing was accepted.
This is a difficult project because so many alterations have been made to this building. Would this have not gone before review at all before, or?
Well, you know, you need to keep in mind that design review 2 is not that old. We got design review 2. It was created around the same time that the overlay district standards and the village mixed use standards came into place. So, you know, up until fairly recently, changes had occurred to buildings and review wasn't required. In addition, you know, if the way the overlay district standards are written, you know, if he had come in yesterday as a 1 or 2 family, as far as the overlay district is concerned, and it was existing, we wouldn't be having the same conversation about a door facing the roadway. He decided to, you know, bring it all forward together as a complete package so you could have a look and be clear as what he was picturing doing here.
I'm a little confused. So you're saying that if he hadn't come in to do the three changing the use?
Yes, because
He
that
moved the door without review?
Yeah, because he was in the way that overlay district document is written, you know, there's been some confusion. It conflicts in different places. So we've been advised to always go to that purpose on page 3. This door standard is in section 3. It's not triggered for existing 1 and 2 families, which is what he is today. It'll be triggered for, things that come before you for site plan review, such as, changing to multifamily. So that's how that standard is triggered. Design review would be either way. That's another, level of review and a different set of standards here.
Questions or comments from the board?
So there's no requirement that the porch stay, right, on the front.
Right, the overlay district likes porches. It likes these walkable, friendly neighborhoods so that someone could sit on the porch and you can,
Right.
wave to them as you walk by, but no, there
There's
isn't a
no
requirement.
requirement.
Again, if you can find it consistent with,
Yeah, I mean, my concern would be, okay, I mean, there's nothing that stops us or stops him from wanting to remove the porch. Then does that just leave a door floating on a wall? Because we've approved the porch removal, right?
Right.
I mean, yeah, like Geraldine said, this building is so altered. I mean, what, a 1920s building, potentially a 4 square originally, but now it's a 20 square. I mean, with the additions.
Right, and you never really want to think of removing a door, but if it goes into a bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, as what I'm looking at now doesn't really bother me, right? Which I'm trying to square. Oops, sorry, I've got some company in the room with me. I'm trying to square that with what the ordinance requires, right?
Right.
That's kind of where I'm having issues.
Yeah, me too.
I guess for me, I mean, thinking of it from the design review sense, experiencing the building from the street, especially if you're moving down the street, you see the front of this building first before you come upon seeing deeper back. So there certainly is some features, 50 feet back, but as you come down the road, it is altered, but you still recognize, okay, there's a bay window, there's a porch, roof, that it's the front of a house. And this photo that Caroline has up, I mean, we just end up with kind of a featureless box apartment building. And that window doesn't, I guess because we know the porch is there now. I mean, the window doesn't really fit in, and we have the bay next to it, which obviously is now asymmetrical and doesn't relate to anything.
Well, I would just say that this photoshopping of the window was the best I could do.
Well, no, I understand.
It would all line up.
Any other questions or comments?
I mean, I think of this area too. I mean, there's right across the street, there's a commercial building, right? And there's multifamily complex behind it, right? Or next to it.
Right.
Bow Street Market's right there. It still appears residential.
Yeah.
Again, it's, I feel like there are worse things that could be proposed for the building. Obviously the door opening into a bathroom isn't something that's great. But yeah, I'm trying to, again, square with the ordinance.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, Bill, moving that, you go in the Photoshop version, you kind of just move that porch look over to the side entrance, which to me already kind of looks like an entrance. So is there more, I don't even know, extending the roof of that bay on the front over the new window or something that just makes a little bit more, I guess I don't really see the point of moving the porch roof to the side of the house either. Right?
The only reason I was going to move the porch roof is that it's if the roof is a nice structural thing, which I'll find out when I start digging into it. Currently, I have a small temporary sort of an eyebrow awning over the front steps, the main entrance steps, to keep the snow load that comes off the top of that roof from landing directly on the steps. So what I was proposing was to bring that roof around, which would then spread that snow load and shed it away from the front steps. There's currently a temporary awning structure up at the ridge line that or up at the eave line that does that, which I put up there in order to keep the snow off those steps. And I was just thinking, well, okay, if I'm taking this, if I'm able to take this roof off and I can swing it around and hang it up on that face, then it would look better than the existing awning that I have. And it would take advantage of the fact that I've got a raised seam green metal roof that I could put over there that would keep the snow off the front steps. What's happening now is that the snow load that comes down off of the front of the house lands on that current porch roof and gets shed sideways into the bay, between the bay window, and there's a massive pile of snow that builds up in that space in between, which is creating problems with that wall. And if that roof line were, if that porch roof were gone, then the snow would just shed off and land on the front yard. So that's the reason I wanted to pull that roof off, because I'm getting some leakage in along that roof line, and it's starting to raise hell with the clapboards down in the valley between the two, or in the gap between the two. So I figured, you know, if I could reuse this roof, then it would probably not look bad hanging off over the top of the steps going up the side, and it would keep the snow off of those steps. But that's certainly not you know, I'm not wedded to doing that. I could just take this thing off and be done with it. But I just figured if it was sound, I would
reuse it. Sure.
I would reuse it. So that was my only rationale behind repositioning it. And I figured, okay, so I'll put all of that in this application so I don't have to come back a second time to get permission if I want to do that. I mean, the real issue is I want to get rid of the, you know, the other thing that's an absolute pain in the neck is that every time we get a new UPS driver, a new FedEx driver, they insist on putting all the packages out on that front porch. And that front porch hasn't been in use for 8 years. And there's no path shoveled to it. There's no access to it. And even in the wintertime, they throw packages up on that thing. And then I wonder where they are and don't know that they've arrived for 2 or 3 days because it's not someplace I check. And there is some rot going on underneath that porch that I want to address and tidy up that wall. So my preference would be to just pull the porch and the roof off completely. I can leave a door on there if that's what the planning board wants, or that's what the zoning ordinance requires. Probably what I would do is I would probably take that door out. I would probably rebuild that wall, and I would screw fasten the door to the outside with trim around it, so it looked like there was a door there. But at the moment, the insulation of that wall is certainly compromised in the bathroom because although I've got an insulated plug underneath the glass section in that window, it's a bathroom, and then you don't really want a front door coming in your bathroom.
Yeah, and other board members can certainly comment. I guess the door requirement, sort of the visibles from the street, that wording, I'm not as worried about. And I certainly understand, wanting to get rid of the gable there because it's, with the metal roofs, it's causing issues with the snow. For me, it's more just that it'll be just kind of a very strange asymmetrical facades without anything there, with just the window, and I don't know, even just that little hip roof over the bay, window area. If that just extended over the new window and had a bracket, or I don't know, something that just made it look less kind of like a scab of, it's just gone and there's a window, which will seem very weird. But like I said, others can comment on what they think.
So the picture that shows it from the face, that shows, I mean, the picture that I actually is more accurate than the sort of corner angle was the picture that I show, which has a window in that face next to the bay window. And that, I mean, to my eye, that balances it. It matches the window above it, and it centered on the same space. And I guess I don't share your perspective on feeling as though it makes it look weird.
Yeah, I don't have.
It doesn't look like a building in a village anymore. You know, it doesn't even look like a house anymore. And it's really just getting turned into a really large apartment building with a parking lot and a door, on the side that never would have existed there.
Is this the one you're?
Right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't think the massing is that large. And to me, this just looks like a side of a house instead of the front of a house. I know that's not what we're supposed to be doing, but I mean, reality is it's not the front of a house. I mean, it's kind of like that ship sailed a while ago.
Well, yeah, right. If we were looking at it 13 years ago, I might have a different thought. And that whether that's a bathroom or not, obviously, we're not looking inside people's houses no matter what we do here. So
Right. And the whole lots and the site development, that all was approved way before us. So I hate to just keep something there that's causing structural damage. And I don't think a door floating on the wall seems like a great idea. I don't think there are a lot of options. We either go with kind of the plan or he rebuilds the porch to make it more sound. I don't like the idea of sticking a door on the outside of the wall because that's just,
It just defeats the purpose of what the ordinance, I think, was getting at, right?
Right.
Geraldine, you do have a member of the public here. Since the board seems a little stumped, do you want to see if they want to comment at all on the application?
Sure.
Wendy, if you want to comment, you can raise your hand and we'll bump you over. But if you're just here to watch, that's fine as well. Okay, I don't believe they want to comment, so.
I'll just throw a couple words in. Geraldine, I think you're right. It sounds like the ship has sailed in terms of how we ended up here, or this building ended up here. And it looks like the main entrance is on the side. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. The alternative would be, it seems like if we were to still have a porch on that side, we would be doing it for reasons that don't necessarily make sense other than to follow an ordinance. And so it seems like this is a logical solution that works.
Yeah, I agree. Caroline?
So we do have, if the board's gonna take action on something to approve it, they do have to find and make findings on how it's meeting the ordinance. But you do have a member of the public that does wish to comment now.
Okay.
You want to let them over, I can do that.
Yep.
Okay, Wendy, you've been moved over. You can unmute if you wish to comment.
Thank you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, no, I can certainly appreciate all the comments and how it's not it doesn't feel like a real straightforward path because so many of the ordinances are at odds in some of these cases. Unfortunately, it seems like what action might allow follow the ordinance is not necessarily what's in the best interest of the homeowner, i.e. maintaining a structure and the integrity of a structure. And as a homeowner, I know that's one of my primary goals. And I think anyone who wants to maintain a decent property, you want to maintain the integrity of your structure. And I certainly can appreciate curb appeal. And, it's still a beautiful building. I drive by it all the time. And when this is the first time I've seen that front-facing photo with the 4 windows in it, and I would much rather see that than a porch that's falling apart, or someone who is letting the entire building go, which is certainly not, I think, Bill's intention whatsoever. But what's worse? Letting someone remove a door to maintain the integrity of the building. Or making him keep it there just for the visual appeal for someone who doesn't live there. I don't know. It seems kind of silly when, he does have excellent, accommodations for the people that are living there, a really nice accessible space, a well-maintained building otherwise, and meets all the other requirements that sounds like you are looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other members of the public or board? So Caroline, you said that, so is the motion that is proposed not going to work, or I'm a little confused?
If the board feels that the proposed findings before you are accurate and you're comfortable adopting them as written, the motion before you would work. It would approve a change of use from 2-family and office to multi-family dwelling. It would include the finding that it meets the standards of the Freeport Design Review Ordinance, applicable sections of the overlay district and zoning ordinance. The only thing that would need to change is that you could strike proposed condition of approval 3, because the applicant did provide a capacity letter from the sewer district today.
Okay. So would someone like to make a motion, either the proposed motion or another motion?
I would advance the proposed motion that's written.
Okay, great. Go for it.
Propose a motion, be it ordered that the Freeport Project Review Board approve the printed findings of fact, design review certificate, and change of use for the Bill Creighton, for the exterior building alterations and change of use from 2-family dwelling and office to multifamily 3-unit dwelling, 74 Bow Street, tax assessor map 13, lot 85, to be substantially as proposed, application dated 9/29/20, finding that it meets the standards of the Freeport Design Review Ordinance, the applicable section of the Freeport Village Overlay District and the Freeport Zoning Ordinance, and the following conditions for approval. Number 1, the approval incorporates by reference all supporting plans that amend the previously approved plans submitted by the applicant and his or her representatives at Project Review Board meetings and hearings on the subject application to the extent that they are not in conflict with other stated conditions. 2, the applicant obtain any applicable permits from the Freeport Codes Enforcement Officer. End of motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Guy, second. So roll call vote, Blanchard,
Yay.
Campanelli, yay, Hamlin,
Yay.
Reiki,
Okay,
Troidel,
Nay.
Watson,
Yay.
Yankee.
Yay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, that's all the projects for review. So the next item is the election of officers. So, do we have any takers?
You've stated, Geraldine, that you are not interested in being nominated to chair.
That is correct.
I have, I'd like to nominate Guy as chair going forward, and also note that I've previously spoken with Adam, who I think has done a great job as the vice chair, and it's my understanding that he has such a workload single-handedly building Maine Medical Center that he cannot move beyond his current position of vice chair. So I'd nominate Guy as chair.
You have a second?
I second.
Great. Roll call vote. Should we ask Guy? Do you want? We're just gonna take a vote. I don't know if you want to vote, Guy.
Happy to do it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to say yay. Hamlin?
Yay.
Reiki?
Yay.
Troidel?
Yay.
Watson?
Yay.
And Yankee?
Yay.
Great. So we need a vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Adam to continue in the role he's filled for a year.
Okay, great. So we need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Suzanne, great. Blanchard?
Yay.
Campanelli, yay. Hamlin?
Yay.
Reiki?
Yay.
Troidel? You wanna vote? Watson?
Yay.
And Yankee?
Yay.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we need a secretary.
Is there any chance Madam Chairman could serve as the secretary?
I guess I could do that in a pinch. I could chair again. So can I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay. So roll call vote. Blanchard?
Yay.
Campanelli, yay. I'll vote for myself. Hamlin?
Yay.
Reiki?
Yay.
Troidel?
Yay.
Watson?
Yay.
And Yankee?
Yay.
Okay, terrific. So do we have any other non-agenda items?
Geraldine, when does this take effect for the change of officers?
Next month.
So now then, is that right?
Yes. Well,
Yep.
it's not over yet. I get to finish the meeting, I think.
Guy will
Well,
be chair next time.
You've done a very good job. I think everyone in the public and on the board would agree with that. You've worked hard, and you've taken the board to a level of professionalism that served the town well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you. That's very nice. And you've all been great to work with. Everyone's been kind and knowledgeable and done their homework. It's been a nice environment to be involved in, and Caroline's been great. The staff reports have been great. I have to say I've hardly picked up this big black notebook since we've been getting these great staff reports, and boy, is that nice. And Sharon, thank you for the minutes. I do want to say a couple things. And this is kind of a spot for me. I did hope that we would be able to take the ordinances to somewhere where we could maybe work on them, get them a little more refined. As we saw tonight in this last project, this overlay of districts gets pretty convoluted. In September, we had a great workshop with the planning board and staff. I think everyone felt really positive about that and really wanted to move in a similar direction. Unfortunately, there were no council members at that meeting. And then there were a myriad of reasons why the working group were not able to bring anything forward to the council. And then we also were not able to have workshops with the council regarding any of these issues. So it's kind of stopped. And And not to put any pressure on the new officers, but hopefully in leadership roles, we can keep moving this forward. I have concerns that this won't keep moving forward if we don't put some pressure. You know, there are a lot of pet projects and kind of fires that come up that take the council and planning board energy. But I really think for the progress of this town, we need to look at some of these planning documents. What I'm seeing is we're having individual changes happening, as we saw in the apartment complex. And I think we're going to see more pressure from bigger projects that may not fit within the ordinance coming in to planning board and council to get changes made. Those changes are going to happen without enough town attention, and then they're going to come to us. And some of those are having, you know, can have major impacts on the town. And I'm a little concerned about that. I'm also concerned about new policies that are being created by citizen volunteers who do not have the skill set to create these documents, but they're being put into place. And some of them will have repercussions for the planning board. Also, we're seeing these documents really not interweaving with the existing planning documents, as we saw in this last project. So in the parking lot overlay, that luckily that was kind of stopped and hopefully will stay that way. Those kind of things are really problematic. So I think it's really important that we somehow meet with the council and express to them what's happening at our level of the board when these things are happening. When and we've met with the planning board. I think they understand. I don't think the council understands this. It's really important. And my sense is that we're going to have more and more these kind of development pressures coming. And even though the comp plan, it has potential to begin to remedy some of this, that's a long way out. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. So if anybody has any other thoughts or anything on.
I do agree with you, Geraldine, seeing a lot of these onesie, twosie, you know, we're changing zoning here, we're doing that there, that can, the real public comment to those things, like with the apartment complex, nobody even knew that things were being changed at the council level. And then by the time people really get wise to it, it's when it's a project. Right. And I'm just concerned that for the town, that what the logical conclusion of that will be is one of these projects is going to be a lawsuit eventually that the town's going to be paying for, because people aren't going to know about it when it happens at the council level. And I don't, obviously there's a sequence of events that needs to happen to approve certain things, but approving a zoning change when nobody's really aware that there's a project coming, is dangerous, because then by the time it gets to really widespread, understanding is when it's at the project review board level. So I am concerned that there are just a lot of single changes happening, and maybe they're, not bad changes, but I don't think and of course we all do the public notice, whatever, everything we do as a public hearing, but people don't necessarily see those the first time, and then it, goes longer and longer and they get to us.
Right.
I guess I'll add to, somehow my camera's gone, huh?
Yeah.
I'm back. I'll just say really briefly that I want to add support to what Adam just said. And the last agenda item tonight is something that I think we've done. In my opinion, we've done a number of times. We do what feels right in the situation, partly because the ordinance is ambiguous or contradictory. And I did not feel, my vote tonight was because it felt like it was appropriate to the situation, not responsive to the intent of the 2 ordinance provisions that applied.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I do think too, these one-offs, like you said, Adam, some of them are pretty benign, but some of them do have some big ramifications for the town. So I just want to throw that out there, and hopefully we can do some kind of workshop, Caroline, with the staff. And just kind of an educational meeting to let them know how things work at our end. And maybe somewhere along the way, a process can be set up that really looks at the impact of some of these new zone changes and plans that are being put in place. So on that note, if no one else has a comment, we can
Move, we adjourn.
yes. Second?
Second.
Or move to adjourn. Yes, okay. I will do a roll call vote. Blanchard.
Yay.
Campanelli. Yay. Hamlin.
Yay.
Breaky.
Yay.
Treudel.
Yay.
Watson.
Yay.
And Yankee.
Yay.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you next month.
See you in November.
Thanks. Yeah. See you then.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks, guys.